Humans were judged guilty, until the artifact proclaimed them the true bearer of justice. Some had 6 limbs, some moved in a liquid form, and some glowed from within. The humans had never felt so small. Ethan Cole stood at the center of the chamber, his posture straight, though his hands shook slightly. He was the lead envoy for humanity. Beside him were Commander Lucas Gray, strong and silent, and Claire Morrow, a historian whose knowledge of human culture was unmatched. Together, they represented every human alive, or at least every human who had the right to speak. The tribunal was ready. The aliens spoke in a language that hummed through the chamber. Ethan had learned to understand it in parts, enough to follow the proceedings, but even he felt the weight of misunderstanding. The voices blended together like 1,000 instruments playing at once. The humans are accused of violence, the tribunal announced, of failing to govern themselves, of causing suffering on a scale that endangers the galaxy. They are guilty by the evidence before us. We have made mistakes, yes, but we have learned from them. Please hear us fully before judging. Even the humans themselves had felt shame for their past, but this was only one side of the story. Lucas Gray spoke next. His voice was calm but firm. We do not deny our wars, we do not deny our failures, but you are seeing only the surface. You do not see our efforts to save lives, to rebuild, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. You do not see the humans who risk everything to do what is right. You call us dangerous, but you forget that humans have also fought against their own cruelty. We have turned our leaders over, we have stood up to injustice, we have helped entire species we never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. Humanity is flawed, yes, but flawed does not mean evil. Ethan could feel it in his chest. The aliens were not used to being challenged, and now they were irritated. But humanity had no other option. The evidence continued. The holograms shifted to show riots, protests, rebellions against tyranny, and disasters caused by human error. See, said the tribunal, you harm your own people and you harm others. How can you claim justice? What matters is that we try. They wanted to deliver a verdict. Still, he tried one last plea. Look closer. Look beyond the wars. Look at the people who helped others, the families who gave their lives for strangers, the volunteers who stayed behind to care for the sick during plagues. Humans are judged only by the failures, never by the courage or the mercy. We ask you to see the full truth. The tribunal members exchanged strange gestures, flickers of light, and subtle hums. Then the tallest member, the one with molten eyes, spoke again. Your pleas are noted but insufficient. The verdict stands. Humanity is guilty. Your punishment will be removal from interstellar governance and permanent observation. You will not influence galactic affairs. You will be monitored and contained. Guilty before even being heard. Your Honor, said Ethan, his voice rising with a mix of fear and hope, we request the invocation of the artifact. Let the ancient protocol judge. Let it see what you cannot. Let it weigh all of humanity, not just our mistakes, but our choices, our courage, our will to do what is right. The artifact had not been invoked for centuries. Some species believed it was a myth, a story told to scare young aliens into honesty, but the tribunal knew better. Finally, the molten-eyed member nodded. So be it. The artifact shall decide. Let it awaken and pass its judgment. Only its verdict may override the tribunal's own. A brilliant light spilled into the hall, soft but radiant, making the colors of every alien shimmer. The artifact floated slowly into the center. It was like nothing humans had ever seen before. It was not solid, not liquid, not gas. It was light and energy, shifting constantly, glowing with colors humans could not name. It radiated power, knowledge, and something else. Something human eyes could barely recognize, wisdom. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. Lucas tightened his grip on his belt. Claire stepped closer, notebook in hand, but she knew no notes could capture what she saw. The tribunal fell silent. Even the alien spectators seemed to hold their breath. The artifact pulsed once, then again, sending ripples through the chamber. Ethan realized that this was no ordinary judgment. This was a test beyond words, beyond laws, beyond any record of history. Humans, the artifact finally said in a voice that resonated in every mind, you are known. Your actions have been observed across time. Your mistakes are many. Your victories are few. And yet, you have struggled. You have fought against your own failures. You have chosen to protect, to forgive, and to heal even when no one watched. You have carried burdens no other species bears. You are flawed, yes, but you are aware of your flaws. You seek justice, not for glory, but for conscience. This is rare. This is valuable. The humans stared in awe. Ethan could not speak. Lucas's jaw tightened. Claire's hands shook as she scribbled notes that felt meaningless compared to what she heard. The artifact pulsed again. The tribunal's judgment is not final. Let all beings know, humans are not merely guilty or innocent. They are bearers of justice in ways you may not understand. Their path is hard, but their heart is true. They are saying we can still be the ones to do what is right, that our choices matter. Not yet, but its judgment had begun to ripple through the chamber and through humanity itself. The trial was not over, but the first step toward redemption had begun. The chamber remained quiet, but the air was alive with energy. The artifact hovered in the center, glowing brighter than before, and every alien present watched with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Ethan Cole could feel the pulse of power in his chest, as if the light itself was reaching into him, weighing him, testing him. He had never felt anything like this in his life. Lucas Gray kept his eyes on the artifact, his expression unreadable. He did not flinch, but his body was tense. Every muscle was ready for anything, though Ethan knew there was nothing they could do to control what would happen next. Claire Morrow, notebook in hand, stood slightly behind the others. She had spent years studying humanity's history, its literature, its struggles. Yet here, in the presence of the artifact, she felt all her knowledge shrink into insignificance. The truth of human choices could not be written in books. It had to be seen and judged in this strange, living light. The artifact pulsed again. A soft hum filled the room, vibrating through the floor, the walls, even the air. Ethan realized that this sound carried meaning. It was not just noise. It was a question, an invitation to reveal themselves fully. The holograms that had displayed human wars vanished. Instead, the chamber filled with new images, softer, slower, and more detailed. Humans saw themselves in ways they had never been seen before. There was a village far from any city where people had built shelters for refugees during a flood. Children were given food, water, and blankets. The villagers worked tirelessly, even though they had almost nothing themselves. Ethan recognized some of the locations. Claire whispered, "These were small acts. No one would ever record them officially, but they mattered." The humans were not only treating their own kind, but alien species as well. They worked day and night, exhausted and exposed to risk, simply to save lives. Lucas Gray's jaw tightened. "They see everything," he muttered. "Every choice, every risk we've taken." Humans stood up against tyrants, protested in silence against oppressive governments, defended the weak, and sometimes gave their lives for strangers. One projection showed a young woman confronting an alien warlord, refusing to surrender children to slavery, even though she was threatened with death. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Humanity's courage was on full display, not for glory, not for power, but simply because it was right. Some of the alien spectators whispered among themselves. They did not understand this perspective. They had always measured justice by law, by strength, or by fear. Yet the artifact was showing them something they had never considered. That justice could exist even in imperfection. Claire Morrow stepped closer to Ethan. "It's comparing intentions," she said softly. "It's not just showing what we did, it's showing why we did it." It was searching for the truth behind human choices. The chamber grew warmer. Ethan could feel the energy of the artifact moving around them, touching every human and alien in the room. The light pulsed faster now, as if thinking, calculating, understanding. Then the artifact shifted again, showing something harder to watch. Human mistakes were laid bare, not just wars, but the times they failed to protect each other. Cities destroyed by neglect, opportunities lost to greed, people left to suffer while others turned away. Ethan felt the shame of all those moments. Claire's hands shook. Lucas's eyes narrowed. They were not hiding from this truth, they were confronting it. The artifact pulsed once more. Then it showed balance. It showed the humans who had corrected their mistakes, leaders who had resigned in shame to prevent further harm, communities that had rebuilt after disasters, humans who had apologized, who had made reparations, who had worked tirelessly to prevent future failures. "It's weighing learning against failure," Lucas said, finally breaking his silence. "Not just mistakes. What we did after." Here, for the first time, they were being judged by their struggle to do right. Suddenly, the artifact shifted its focus to the aliens themselves. Some members of the tribunal stiffened as the light touched them. It did not condemn them, but it showed them their own failures, small betrayals, hidden acts of cruelty, apathy in the face of injustice. Many of the alien species were perfect only in appearance. Inside, the artifact revealed their own choices had often been for convenience, for gain, or for comfort rather than true justice. The chamber trembled with quiet realization. The humans had been judged harshly, but the artifact revealed a different perspective. Humanity was flawed, yes, but aware. They bore responsibility. They sought to repair harm. They acted from conscience even when no one was watching. That was something rare, something valuable, something the galaxy had rarely seen. Claire Morrow whispered to Ethan, "It's not about innocence, it's about responsibility." It seemed almost alive, shifting and swirling, gathering light into itself and then releasing it like a wave. Then it projected a human moment of extreme courage. A man and a woman, strangers to each other, risked their lives to save an alien child trapped in a collapsing building during a war. Neither expected thanks, neither expected recognition. They acted purely from choice, from conscience. Even the alien tribunal members flinched. They had judged humans by destruction, by violence, but they could not ignore the strength of this simple choice. The chamber was filled with light and emotion. Ethan could feel hope rising, cautious but real. Lucas tightened his fists. "They're seeing everything," he said again, almost to himself. "The good and the bad. And they are judging the heart, not the history books." Its voice, when it finally spoke, was deep and resonant. "Humanity has been observed. Their mistakes are many. Their victories are few in comparison, and yet they are conscious of their choices. They seek justice even in the face of failure. They act to repair harm, to protect others, and to uphold conscience." Their own record of morality was now under quiet scrutiny. Some of them shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond. The humans, however, stood with growing confidence. The artifact continued, showing humans saving not only their own species but others as well. Star systems were rescued from plague and disaster. Entire worlds were rebuilt after human mistakes or natural calamities. Humans had risked everything, even their lives, to protect those they had never met. Ethan realized the artifact was showing them that justice was not perfection. Justice was the constant struggle to do right. It was the willingness to act with conscience, even when it was difficult. Then the artifact pulsed again, and its light seemed to reach into the minds of every human present. Ethan could feel it exploring thoughts and memories, not to punish but to understand. It saw fear, courage, doubt, hope, and determination. It weighed intentions alongside actions. It judged not by results but by effort, choice, and conscience. Lucas Gray spoke softly, almost a whisper. "It's seeing everything we are, not just what the galaxy thinks we are. They act without expectation. They bear responsibility. This is rare. This is justice. We are being understood." It hovered silently, not speaking, but its judgment had begun to ripple through the minds of everyone present. Humans could feel it deep in their hearts. Ethan felt tears prick his eyes. The trial had not ended, but for the first time he believed there was hope. Humanity was being weighed, not by destruction or mistakes alone, but by conscience, courage, and choice. Lucas placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "We are not safe yet," he said quietly, "but we are being seen. That matters. That can change everything." They had been judged guilty by the tribunal, but the artifact was different. It saw what others could not. And for the first time, humans felt that their struggle, their courage, and their conscience mattered. The chamber remained quiet. The alien tribunal members exchanged uneasy glances. The artifact hovered in the center, pulsing softly, waiting, observing, judging. It had seen the humanity that the galaxy often ignored, the humans who failed, yes, but who tried harder than most to be just. And in that quiet, the humans understood that their story was far from over. The chamber was still. The artifact hovered at the center, its light steady but glowing brighter than ever. Humans and aliens alike could feel its presence as more than energy. It was alive, aware, and patient. Every gaze in the room was fixed on it, but no one dared speak. Ethan Cole stood straight, though his heart pounded in his chest. He had spent his life preparing for diplomacy, for arguments, for negotiation. But this was something entirely different. This was not about words. This was about truth. Lucas Gray stood beside him, silent and vigilant. He scanned the alien tribunal, noting their unease. The molten-eyed being that had pronounced humans guilty shifted slightly, but the expression of arrogance was gone. Something about the artifact made even the proudest judges pause. Claire Morrow, still clutching her notebook, whispered, "It's going to speak." "I can feel it." Ethan felt a strange warmth as memories of small deeds he had long forgotten flashed before him. Helping a starving village on Earth, negotiating peace between two rival colonies, saving an injured alien child during a mission. These were not victories for glory, but for conscience. The artifact measured each one. Lucas's voice was quiet, almost a whisper to himself. "It sees everything." Not just the big actions, but the choices in small moments. The artifact pulsed again and spoke in a voice that resonated in every mind. Humans are flawed. They have caused harm knowingly and unknowingly. They have waged wars and brought suffering. And yet they have also strived for what is right. They act to repair harm, to protect the weak, to forgive the unjust, and to face danger for the sake of others. They are aware of their failures. They do not hide from them. They seek to do better. Humans had taken risks to protect those who were not like them. Starships full of refugees had been saved. Worlds threatened by famine and disease had been supplied with food, water, and medicine. Humans had given of themselves without expecting anything in return. Claire whispered, "It's showing the conscience of humanity. Not our power, not our strength, but our willingness to act right." Ordinary people choosing to do what was right despite fear. Soldiers sparing enemies, children protecting the helpless, families sheltering the oppressed. Every act was small, but together they formed a pattern of conscience, courage, and justice. Ethan realized that the artifact was showing the truth that humans had always known in their hearts. Justice was not about perfection. It was about choice. It was about struggle. It was about standing up for what was right, even when it was difficult. The artifact's voice echoed through the chamber. Humans are conscious of morality. They weigh their actions and intentions. They face fear and doubt, yet they act for justice. Few species do this. Most act for survival, for comfort, for power. Humans act with conscience. Judgment cannot be made by law alone. Judgment cannot be made by outcomes alone. True justice is found in the choice to act rightly, repeatedly, and with awareness. Humans have acted imperfectly, yes, but they have chosen justice more often than they have chosen harm. They have borne responsibility. They have fought for what is right when it was easier to ignore. This is rare. This is justice. It showed moments when humans saved alien lives, forgave alien mistakes, and helped alien worlds rebuild. It also showed moments when aliens had failed, when their judgments were cruel or indifferent. It was not condemning, but it was clear. Humans had acted with conscience in ways many species had not. The molten-eyed alien turned to the others. The artifact, it is saying we were wrong. That our judgment was incomplete. Humans, the artifact spoke, its voice echoing through every mind. You are not innocent. You have caused harm. You have failed. You have made mistakes that others could not forgive. And yet you are aware. You are conscious of right and wrong. You strive to repair harm. You act for justice even when it is difficult. You act for others even when there is no reward. You are not perfect. But your choices make you worthy. We can still do what is right. We can still be trusted with justice. Their path is difficult and they will continue to fail at times. But their willingness to choose rightly is rare. This is what defines them. The molten-eyed alien finally spoke. This changes everything. The humans, they have been judged in a way we cannot overturn. Their conscience defines them. Now, for the first time, someone, or something, had seen the truth. Humans were defined not by their failures, but by their struggle to do right. The artifact pulsed once more. Its light softened, spreading warmth through the chamber. It did not speak again, but its judgment had been delivered. Humans had been recognized. The tribunal's verdict was no longer final. Humanity was seen as a bearer of justice. Lucas looked around the chamber, his voice quiet. This will change how they see us and how we see ourselves. And that is rare in the galaxy. Humanity had been given a chance, not because they were perfect, but because they chose to be better. And now they had to live up to that judgment. Lucas's hand rested on Ethan's shoulder again. We will. We have no choice but to honor this. We must be worthy of what it has seen in us. But all had been forced to acknowledge the truth. Humans had been judged not by fear, but by conscience. The chamber remained quiet, filled with the soft hum of the artifact. The humans had been given the chance to show the galaxy what justice meant, not through laws or power or strength, but through choice, courage, and conscience. And in that quiet they understood. Humanity's story was not perfect, but it was theirs to guide. The artifact had judged them worthy. Now it was up to them to live up to that trust. The chamber was quiet, but it felt different now. The weight of the artifact's judgment hung in the air like a soft, glowing fog. Humans and aliens alike could feel the truth of it. Humanity had been recognized, not as perfect, not as flawless, but as a species capable of conscience, courage, and justice. Ethan Cole stood at the center with Lucas Gray and Claire Morrow. For a moment, none of them spoke. They were absorbing the significance of what had just happened. The artifact had seen the truth of humanity, and it had declared that humans were worthy. Lucas broke the silence. This changes everything. The tribunal can no longer pretend they know what is right. We have been seen for what we truly are. By our conscience, that is more than we could have imagined. We cannot reverse it. Now the galaxy has to see what the artifact saw. Our role has changed. We can guide, we can protect, we can act for justice. Not because we are perfect, but because we have been trusted with the chance to do what is right. This is rare in the galaxy. Humans had been judged, and the galaxy would now have to acknowledge the truth. Ethan stepped forward. "We accept this responsibility," he said, his voice clear and strong. "We will act not for power, not for glory, but for justice. We will guide, protect, and repair wherever we can. Humanity has been given a chance, and we will honor it. That is what defines us. The galaxy will now watch you differently. Be aware of this. You have a new role to play." It had left its judgment, and the humans would carry it forward. Outside the chamber, humans began to realize the impact. Messages from other planets and star systems were streaming in. Many aliens were curious, some skeptical, but all had to acknowledge the change. Humanity's role in the galaxy was no longer that of a guilty species. They had been recognized as capable of conscience and justice. Ethan looked at Lucas and Claire. "This is only the beginning," he said. "We have been given a chance, but now we must act. We must live up to this. For our conscience." They mediated disputes between alien species, helped rebuild worlds damaged by war or disaster, and guided fledgling civilizations in matters of fairness and ethics. They did not claim to be perfect, and they never claimed to be above reproach. But their choices were guided by conscience, and slowly the galaxy began to trust them. Ethan often thought back to the chamber, to the moment the artifact had judged humanity. "We were not innocent," he said quietly to Lucas during a mission to a distant planet. "We were seen, and that makes all the difference. We have to prove that the artifact was right, not by being flawless, but by choosing rightly every time we can." Wars and conflicts had not ended, and new challenges arose every day. But humanity faced them differently now. They carried the knowledge that their conscience mattered. They carried the understanding that justice was not about being perfect, but about striving to be right. On a distant planet, children of different species were taught stories of the humans who had been judged guilty, only to be recognized as bearers of justice. They learned not of war or power, but of courage, choice, and conscience. The story spread across star systems, changing the way many beings thought about justice and responsibility. Ethan, Lucas, and Claire often reflected on their roles. "We were ordinary humans," Ethan said one evening, looking at the stars. "Yet we were trusted with something extraordinary. The galaxy expects us to act, and we will. That is what the artifact saw in us, and that is what we must live up to." They spoke for those who could not speak, healed where others would destroy, and stood for conscience where others would follow convenience. And the galaxy began to change. Slowly, quietly, beings of all species began to understand that true justice was not about fear, laws, or power, but about choice, courage, and conscience. The humans, once judged guilty, had become a living example of what it meant to act rightly in an imperfect universe. Ethan often remembered the moment the artifact had judged them. The chamber, the light, the voice that had echoed in every mind. Humanity had been flawed, yes, but it had been recognized for striving toward justice. That recognition had changed everything. Lucas would sometimes say, "We were tested not because we were perfect, but because we could be responsible. And responsibility is harder than perfection. It is a path that never ends. Now we must act in a way that proves it was correct." The galaxy watched, some in fear, some in hope, but all with new awareness. Humanity had been judged not by power or perfection, but by conscience, courage, and choice. And in that judgment, humans found their true place among the stars. Ethan, Lucas, and Claire stood together on the bridge of a human starship, looking out at the galaxy. "We have been given a chance," Ethan said softly. "And now it is our duty to honor it." And that was enough to begin shaping a new future for themselves and for the galaxy. The stars stretched before them, endless and bright. Humanity had been given trust. Humanity would carry it, and humanity would walk the path of justice no matter the cost. The artifact's judgment had not ended their story. It had begun a new one, a story where humanity, flawed but conscious, could stand as an example of what it truly meant to bear justice in an imperfect universe. And so, the humans continued their journey, not as perfect beings, but as the galaxy's conscious, courageous, and just force. a force that chose right, even when it was hard, even when it was dangerous, and even when no one watched. The galaxy had been changed, humanity had been changed, and the future, though uncertain, was now filled with hope, courage, and conscience.